Well, how's it going, guys? Been a hot minute since I've made a video. Um, not really my first choice, but I wanted to get on. I wanted to make a video about what's been going on and, talk about something real quick. But, getting into it immediately, so after I made that insect pinning video, a lot of stuff went on. Unfortunate stuff, but that seems to be the way that life goes, and there's not much you can do about that. Um, but to get into a little bit of important stuff that's gone on in, the past, I think it might have been, it's been about 6 months since I made a video, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But I do not live where I used to live. Obviously, you can see the change of scenery in the background here. Um, and I no longer live with Norman Osborn. You guys won't believe this, but yeah, near the end of us living together, he ended up having a completely different side of him, and ended up being a real Green Goblin. Yeah. Anyways, no. My roommate, he got a job, kind of far out, and he moved away, and so I moved back to where I grew up, and I'm here right now, and just trying to figure stuff out, as a lot of us are. What else has been going on? I think I really do feel, and I just want to say this because I think that a lot of people out there really are feeling very similarly right now about a lot of stuff going on, and I am going to kind of change the topic from what I was talking about before. I do feel like a lot of people out there are feeling very similarly about what's going on. A lot of people are very frustrated, a lot of people are mad, a lot of people are, I don't know, feeling every emotion under the book. For any reason, by the way. I'm being very broad right now. But to get back into it, for the first video in a while, I just wanted to come on here and mention something that I'm sure a lot of you guys already know and think about, but we all have a choice. We always have a choice. You may be like, Spider-Man, what does that mean? Yeah, of course we always have a choice. Well, okay. Yeah, but as we go throughout every single day of our lives, you have to ask, what am I doing? What am I doing to the world around me? What am I doing to the people around me? What am I doing in general? One of the big ways you can ask yourself this is, let me give you an example. Maybe you're around my age and, your 20s. And you don't really feel like, you can do much. You don't feel like you're like, I can't put any good out into the world. I can't do anything. I can't do this. I can't do that. Uh, it, if every single day, despite all of that, you woke up, despite how you were feeling, and you made it your effort to put good out into the universe. That's what you're trying to do today. You don't feel like you're capable of anything. You don't feel like you can do anything. You're not good at anything. Whatever. Go out there and walk up to somebody and compliment them and talk to them, or do any of that. See somebody in need and give them assistance. Right. See somebody who needs something and give them that. Right. A lot of us, we forget that we do have a choice. We sit around all day thinking about what we would do if we were gifted superpowers, if we had Superman's abilities, if we had Batman's knowledge, if we had Spider-Man's courage, if any of this. We sit around thinking about that, wishing that, just for a day that we could do that without ever asking ourselves what we could actually do within our current situation, within our current confines. And for a lot of us, maybe that's not a lot. For most of us, I feel like man, everything is just so expensive, and it feels really difficult to want to do anything, to actually do anything, to strive to maybe expand upon your hobbies to, I don't know, just anything. Everything is just more expensive. So, there's a lot of reasons why I think that we get into our minds and we're like, oh, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't afford to help this person, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't even matter. Maybe that's true. But at the end of the day, all that I'm saying is that you always have a choice. Always have a choice. Right? Could be in a situation where you're not making very much money, but also you're driving down the street and there's a guy who's clearly homeless and he has a sign that says, I'm starving and thirsty. And whenever you see that, it's not a guy begging for money, not a guy begging for anything other than the exact two things out of the three things that we need in life to live. Right? And you ask yourself in that moment, you have a couple $100 in your account. You could go and get that guy food. You could go and get that guy water. You have the option to do that. You have the choice to do that. Yes. It maybe will take 5 to 10 minutes out of your day. Right? It may be a slight inconvenience to you. But I promise you that there is nothing more inconveniencing than not having food or water while thousands of people drive past you a day in vehicles that cost $70,000 to $100,000. There is not much more insulting to the human mind than to see something as ironic as that. And a lot of those people in those situations, not all of them, but a lot of them are veterans or people who, did do a lot. And they did sacrifice a lot thinking that it would get them something. They did ask themselves what, it would be like if they were a superhero themselves, a lot of them, and went out there and then they get to come back to America and have a really, really unfortunate time, and not treated fairly. So anyways, that's kind of a spill about that. I kind of really went into that last part there, but I do feel very passionately about that because we do always have a choice. And don't want to talk about this forever. I just want to mention one more thing, and I'll probably make more videos about this whenever I think of more examples, but this one is something that I've been really thinking a lot about lately, and something that has a lot of importance to me specifically, and it's the idea of, as a guy in my mid-20s, everything I'd say to people younger than me, men, women, whatever, it's going to stick with them. I'm at a point in my life where there are people looking up to me. I just think of myself as a person. I don't think of myself as older. I don't think of myself as this or that. I'm just Spider-Man, But a lot of people, whether you want it or not, look up to you. And you have to ask yourself, what am I going to put out into the universe? What kind of butterfly effects am I going to create for this person? Because I can sit here and I can be negative. Every idea they have, I can shoot it down. I can say that's stupid. I can criticize them. Because I'm insecure about myself. I hate myself. Everything they want to do, I'm bitter about it. Everything they love, every cloud they point out, I despise it and I am apathetic. Literally within weeks, you could take somebody with enough passion to fix the world and turn them into a hollow husk of nothing just because of the way that you were treating them and acting to them. And it's especially exacerbated whenever you are someone who is older and you are in the position to maybe be looked up to and give this type of advice. So an example that I can think about is, like for me personally in my job right now, I'm working with people younger than me. Right, there's some guys in, they're like 17, 18, 19, and they, and they laugh at me for saying this, but I do believe this. I think that what I say to them and how I act to them is really, really important. Because I could be this guy who's like, oh, you need to go out and you need to do this to women and get as many women as possible, and you need to not do this and do that, blah 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 blah. Basically, just give them horrible advice. Like, I guess the best way I can put it is, whenever I was in a fraternity, the advice that I would get would be like the equivalent of if Satan was on Earth, and like you could go up to Satan and just be like, "Yo, Satan, what should I do today?" Right? What Satan would say to you would not be too far off than some of the advice that you're getting in these houses, right? Anyone that's been in a frat house know that there's some guys that are just genuinely like, I'm not gonna say that word on YouTube. Anyways, but basically, yeah. Uh, I I don't want to be the reason that somebody starts doing something they shouldn't do. I don't want to talk about something that I know maybe people shouldn't be doing in front of other people if it even has the chance of them thinking that it's okay to do afterwards. If you've done something, you don't have to talk about that to other people, because you are basically giving them the idea that it's okay to do under certain circumstances if you're not adamant enough. So that's one of the points I want to make. But I don't know. I hope you can kind of see where I'm coming from, because I just recognize that we do have the ability to shape people's lives. So last point I'll make, still relating to everything I'm talking about with, being essentially a good mentor. I love bugs. You guys know that. I talk about bugs all the time on this YouTube channel. But this is very special to me. Whenever I did start working there with these younger guys, I remember they did not they did not like bugs. They did not like spiders. If you know anything about me, spiders are my favorite animal on the planet. I love spiders, I love tarantulas, I love scorpions, I love all arachnids, I love all bugs, but spiders, quite literally the coolest and most versatile animal on the planet. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. I do really, really love spiders. So, but anyways, horrified of spiders. So we're about 4 months in working together, and the other day he comes up to me and he sends me a picture, or he shows me a picture, right? And it's he's taken a picture of a spider, and it's very clearly in a house somewhere. And he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a rabid wolf spider, whatever it was. I think it was a rabid wolf spider, huge one though." And he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, everyone was freaking out, and I just grabbed it, with a cup and put it in the backyard." And I was like, "Well, let me ask you something. Would you have done that if I hadn't, given you spiel after spiel after spiel, hours and hours and hours talking about bugs to you?" And he's like, "No, dude, like, you talking about bugs and the way that you do, like, has completely changed the way that I look at them, and they're so cool. And I look at spiders now and I just wonder about them rather than, fear them." And even with another coworker, we had a long-jawed orb weaver. I think it's like Tetranatha, something like that, and a beautiful, beautiful species, very long, about that long, very, very skinny though, very long legs, very long chelicerae, which are the jaws, of course, that the fangs are attached to. Beautiful, beautiful spider, but it looked, I mean, even as someone who loves spiders, objectively, it looks kind of creepy, kind of scary, but he was like, "That is the coolest thing I've ever seen." And again, I asked him, this is a different guy than the last guy, and they weren't together, so this is in separate instances. I'm like, "Okay, if I hadn't talked to you about spiders, would you find that cool? Like, what would you be doing?" He's like, "Dude, no, hell no, I would have killed that thing by now." And I was like, "But you're looking at it now, what do you think?" And he's like, "Well, it just doesn't look like anything else. It looks so cool. And I can, see that despite the fact that it is a spider, like, there's no other spiders like this." And that was just, that's exactly what I'm striving for. And that's exactly my point to all of this. And obviously for me, I'm a bug guy, a spider guy, this and that. That, in my opinion, I can put as much good out into the universe as I'm able to. But we all kind of have our niche, and we all kind of have something that we're really passionate about. So I, in turn, am very passionate about getting that bug stuff out there, the bug love. People need some bug love. And whenever I start to see people reciprocate that, I think that's beautiful because, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I think that God has quite literally put us here for a very select few reasons. But it is very broad encompassing. And I think that God put us here to love each other, to be creative, and to worship Him. Those aren't in order. Those are just three things. There's not top to least. Be creative, love, and worship God. Right, and worship God, I want to spend a quick second on this. It doesn't just include going to church and reading the Bible and stuff like that. It includes going out into nature and looking at what God has created. Right, we're artists. We can create hand paintings and stuff like that, but God has created this, and this is His artwork. Right, and bugs are His artwork, and if you have the ability to shift someone's opinion on something, usually due to the fact that they are ignorant, and no, I don't mean ignorant in a bad way, I mean the fact that they are literally without knowledge on the subject, and all of us are ignorant in a million ways. We are. And often our ignorance is what leads us to fear something, to not want to do something, to be dissuaded by something. But again, looping it all the way back to the beginning, we always have a choice. We have one life, that's it. And then that's it for eternity, forever, infinitely. It's pretty crazy to think about, but that's the reality. So what are you going to do? What are any of us going to do? As the world dissolves into madness, what are any of us going to do? There's going to be a lot of questions that we're asking ourselves soon. Men, women alike. People of all ages. And there's going to be a choice that all of us will have to make. But that's the beauty of it, is we're allowed to make a choice. Kind of done with that. I'm really glad to be back into it. I'm glad to be, I'm glad to have my stuff set up again, have the availability to make videos. No idea what I want to make videos about. The reason I honestly stopped making videos is that I started a Instagram account, where basically, you can see some Legos, Transformers, all that behind me. But me and my roommate, Norman, before he moved out, before he went crazy, absolutely off the rails on me, and just beat the crap out of me, destroy the house, killed multiple family relatives, stuff like that. We had a shared collection, so basically, I was feeling kind of emotional about the fact that, that shared collection was going to be over, so I went ahead and photographed all 200 something of his side of the figures. Haven't even done mine yet, to begin posting them on Instagram. And I did that, and I'm 204 posts in, and it's been absolutely incredible. So I just, want to mention to anyone who's like, oh, well, you said in one of your videos about 6 months ago that you need to be consistent. Yeah, whatever. I've been consistent. I've been posting those Transformers. Not posting YouTube, though, but we're going to get back into it. We got a lot of stuff going on in humanity in the next few years, and I'm excited, but we all got to be ready, and that's where I'm going to end it today. So I just, again, for the trillionth time, I'm going to remind you, all of us, every single day, we all have a choice. We may not have the availability like Superman to punch this planet in half with our strength, but we can certainly spend 2 to 5 extra minutes during a day to help somebody. All of us can do that. Just always remember to be the best person that you can be, that you want to be, that you should be, whatever. We always, have a choice to be the kind of person that we're going to be each day, and I challenge all of you to put the best version of yourself, out into the universe and see what happens. But that's going to be all for now. Y'all have a good one.